All right, hey, let's see if we are live, and we're going to get some artwork done this morning. So give me a second here to check my signal, make sure we're coming through. I'll go through a quick intro here for those that are new. Hey, okay, great. Mic check. Sounds like we're good there. Let me drop that down. And if you're already familiar with the channel, you want to skip ahead like a minute. If you're catching this in the future, then I'll be done with the yerble yabble. But let's see. Check. Volume's off. There we go. Okay, there. And so we're going to be doing some artwork this morning. For those that are not familiar with my stream already, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And copy. Let's see. Paste and here. Let me grab that link here real quick. And post, and then more social media posts. And there's got to be a way for me to automate this stuff with me being able to jump on the fly, but I honestly don't know how to do it. So cheers to that. But yeah, like saying, I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I am creating an adventure for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition in the Eberron campaign setting. You can see the book cover here. It is Crystals of Mabar. And it is for characters to 7th, 8th level. We are fighting necromancers, undead, and demons in the Carnwood of Karnath on the continent of Corvair. Eberron's been my favorite campaign setting since like around 2005, and most of my like prime material playing settings always take place in the Eberron campaign setting. So after spending 2 decades playing in their backyard, I figure if I'm going to make an adventure for Dungeons & Dragons, it should definitely be in the Eberron campaign setting. So having said all that, let me fix my screen here. Boop, boop. There we go. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. We are now on episode 399 of creating all of the art assets, the maps, the tokens that are included with the adventure. If you want to see it from the beginning, here is our full playlist. Here's my Discord channel if you're interested in jumping in. Patreon if you want to support the effort. And here's a slew of books that I've already created on the DMsGuild. They're all free previews. Be welcome to check them out if you think they're cool. Consider purchasing something to encourage more behavior. So let's get this book cover out of the way. And we're working on consequences of your campaign. This is talking about the rise of undead. I need to fix the text. I had a Haining adventure down here. It was a Haining widow. I really want to fix that, but that's my focus today. We've got this horde of undead. That's the result of your characters not succeeding at the adventure. It just generates more chaos for the team to deal with. So let me go ahead, and we're not going to work with the back horde today. We're not going to work with the Yugoloth commander today. We're going to continue focusing on our front line. So we finish off our frontline undead here, and now we're going to work on our second string here. Let's peel this one open. We'll be here for about an hour or so today. Let me grab some light purple. Drop that into the eyes there like the I stream 10 times per week, Monday through Friday in the morning. I do artwork like this. I won't be here. I won't be here at lunch today. Typically, this week is weird, but typically I stream Mondays, Wednesdays. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays is typically when I stream during lunch doing game design like Martial Power System or Color Mana Spell Point variant rule modifications. On Thursday night, I also stream game development. We've been working on the Bastion campaign system on Thursday nights, and then Saturday morning brunch stream, I work on typically book design. And then when I'm off screen and you don't see me, that's when I'm working on page layouts, like, for example, the page layouts for this book. This is the format that we're using for this book, for those that aren't indoctrinated already. We're going with a 16:9 format. Since it's a 100% digital medium that we're working inside of, I can afford to play around with the format. So it's technically a 17 by 10 inch document, but it fits really, here, I'll show you if you haven't seen it. Here, if you max out the screen, you can also max out the text on. This is a 12-point font that we're working with here, so it's really easy to view with. And then beyond that, if you were to tilt the if we were to tilt the format sideways, which I can't do here on my monitor, but each column is also 16 by 9. It's 10 inches tall, 5.5 inches wide, which is basically 16 by 9 format. So you can look at it, and you can look at the full page vertically, horizontally. Look at the full page vertically, horizontally like this, and at a 12-point font. If you're on a tablet, chances are, if you've got decent vision, you can read the whole thing a-okay. People that are blind, like really blind like me, can still read it really well in a vertical format. So the entire adventure has been formatted in bite-sized chunks that you can digest from column to column, and then the illustrations and maps flow across the page. So here's an example of another breakdown of information when we're talking about, there's variant plot hooks in the adventure. So this one's about family and friend. You're invited out to pick up some land in a new farming community. And if you come along, there we go, doing a mic check there. Okay, yeah, alarm is good. If you go on the adventure, you get bonus. Each plot hook provides different resources, different rewards, a different starting point inside of the adventure, and then has unique encounters based on the events. So, like, here's another one down here. We're still haven't finished the illustrations down here, but like in this example, the Church of the Silver Flame wants you to find missing scouts that were finding out about what's going on with this necromancy stuff, and they went missing. So, but yeah, the whole thing is broken down into the three column format. The 16 by 9 format across the document works pretty nicely. So that's an experiment. I don't know how it's going to work. It wouldn't. I don't think a 16 by 9 page would work realistic. Like logistically, I think I'd have a problem with that if I tried to print it. But I only work in a digital format when I'm coloring, so I don't have to worry about it. So hopefully the market will accept it, and it works out. But let's see, where are we at right now? I want to come along and let's look at some reference material here. I want to put in. Let's grab. Since I don't see any color, I use photo references for color, and I use the RGB tool up here in the corner. That's my color vision up here. So as long as I understand what the RGB is doing up in the corner, I generally have a good idea what's going on with the art. And so far, it's been working out pretty well. So, so if you have, just in case you have anyone in your life that's colorblind, that's trying to figure out how to do artwork, I am more than happy to have conversations with them. But let's see, let's grab. Let's grab one there. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. Okay, cool. So beep, 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 colors. And a new layer here. I'm gonna start scratching this in here, just to add in some highlighting. Hey, Francois, how you doing? No, wait. Yeah, how you doing, my guy? Just adding some color in here, some lighting. And we're just gonna play with different types of lighting across here. The line art, here's the line art that we have, and it's intentionally layered like this because when I bond it all together into a single layer and start blending it, it'll add additional texture and variance, just the randomness that you can't get from pre-planning every point, every pixel on a piece. I like having that randomness inserted into it. And you've got like this leather effect going on. I think I need to pay attention to that. Let's go to, that doesn't feel right. Yeah, I know what I want to do. let's do it like that. And then let's come in here. Break this across here like that. Yeah, this feels too much like some sort of outfit, and that's not what I want to do. These guys are way too dead, way too long to have any kind of fabric or animal material other than bone really survive on them. So I want to fix that. There, like this. There, that's starting to feel a little bit better. Let's grab there. Put a joint in there like that. That feels better. There, okay. Now I'm feeling happy about this piece. There, okay. Now I'm feeling happy about this. I think when I sketched this, I wasn't really thinking about the logistics of like where, when they're at. Let's do that. Cool. Happy with that. So clean that up here. Oh yeah. Fantastic. Excellent. Good recovery, Kearney. Let's see. Here, and let's grab some of that. Bring that down into here. Had a pretty good weekend, made some nice progress on. We're still doing the layouts for this book, and that's what I do off screen in my quote-unquote free time. I'm either streaming current progress or I'm off stream continuing whatever progress it is that we're making. So yeah, I've been buried inside of this project for a while, and will continue to be until this is my primary project. So this is the project that I put most of my attention on. And the other things that I've been doing on stream, design work, like the Martial Power System and the Bastion campaigns, and the Spelljammer, like Monsters and Machines books, and the subclasses. Those are things that help me not burn out on this project, because if I only worked on a single project for months on end without any kind of shifting in gears, it would just absolutely burn me out. So I can take a fresh breath by playing with another idea, and that also sets up my pipeline. So once this piece gets done, we've already got other projects that are well under development, like the Martial Power System. We play test. We actually play test on Monday nights. That's tonight, which is why I don't stream on Monday nights anymore. I was about 2 months ago, but then we fired up Martial Powers playtesting, so I had to step away from Monday night stream to focus on the task at hand. And once this book is done, the Martial Power System is going to be in a really good place for us to be able to start kicking that out to. Okay, we already got all the bone colors in there. Let's continue here. The power system should be well underway, and I'm liking how the play test is working out so far. So looks like this thing's going to fly. We just got to make sure we get to a place where we have all the different powers that we've been creating locked down. That's what playtesting is for, to help eliminate variables, make sure the things that you're building are working out properly. You can get away with not playtest, like simple things like subclasses that aren't pushing the design theory of 5e. Some spells that operate within curve of other spells that exist, feats that aren't really pushing the threshold of what 5e is supposed to be able to do with a feat. It's there, you can get away with a lot of stuff without having to play test it in 5e. But once you start pushing into like whole new magic systems, for example, or like changing how multi-classing works, or switching like core features around on classes, you really got to test that stuff. And if that's the kind of ambition that you have, but you're unwilling to put the work in, you really want to consider what kind of content are you really trying to put out there for people. It's just, I think what's a bold statement I can make? It's like if you aren't willing to test your stuff to find where your flaws are at before you put it out on the market, you're basically just asking people to buy on the feels of something. Like how many role-playing games are published and then just never played? It's like you got to wonder if people are putting out like Kickstarter campaigns for like whole new settings and stuff. It's like, how long have you played in that setting before you decided it was good enough to put out? Or did you create your product because you wanted to put out a setting and you didn't have one, so you had to create one? And how long could you actually spend playing around in that world? Anyway, I'm being lippy. But these are the things these are the standards I'd hold myself to. So I like to see other people hold themselves to those standards as well, which is not real. No one else has to play by my rules. My rules are my own. And if you want to kick out some AI slop and people are willing to buy it, then, pigs eat slop. Pig farming is an industry. There. But I'm being sassy. I've got my sass on this morning. Hey, Defective Gaming. Yo, what's up? We are doing Undead art today. The adventure that we're publishing here, it's intended. It's a one shot. It can be ran as a one. It can be ran as a one shot, or it can be ran as part of an extended campaign. And there's different positions where you can start in depending on how much duration that you want. And it's really being built intended for professional DMs that get requests from people to play in the Eberron campaign setting. So I want it to be a go-to for those type of DMs, because depending on it has different plot hooks. There's 6 plot hooks, so you could literally just roll a 6-sided die to decide what plot hook is relevant to the character that you're playing, and you can mix your team so that some characters. Let's get that red in there a little bit. So some characters can have one plot hook, other characters have another plot hook, and you don't necessarily have to tell each other whose plot hook is what. So if you're running a one-shot, you could be running through the dungeons together without any problem, and then once you finally start getting to your objective, then you start running into conflicts. It's like, well, yeah, we want to destroy this artifact, but other people are like, no, wait, we were hired to bring that artifact back in peace, and now you've potentially got a conflict. And if that's I mean, when you're dealing with professional, like paid DMing, especially like with one shots, I don't do paid DMing myself, but I do play with professional DMs, and so they cater to the style and of game that their team wants, that they've paid for, and PvP or like potential inter-party conflicts that need to be resolved is a play style that many pro DMs that are running extended campaigns will include in their list of session 0 stuff to be, to think about. And so this can accommodate that. You can just random up a plot that you want your characters to follow, and you all work as a team. But in the one-shot scenario, everyone can have contrasting goals, and then once you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, it's like, now we're going to argue over our goals, and that could be a fun experience. And hey, what's up? Came for the art, stay for the coffee. Cheers. Oh, there's plenty of coffee, my man. Good morning. Always tried to mitigate PvP as much as possible. I allow a little fun, but nothing. Oh, I hate PvP in my games. Absolutely. I will tell you this: all of my best friends in my life, I acquired through gaming. I didn't know all of my best friends. I did not know before playing D&D, and it's like, hey, I want to play D&D. We all got together. We all started playing D&D, and it was through the course of playing that you kind of get an idea of like what a person is like. People like, okay, so here's the thing. They say one of the maxims is you play who you are, right? So like one of the novice, quote unquote novice levels of role playing is you just respond to the situations as you would. Don't worry about who your character is. Just think about what's going on and what feels like a natural reaction to you to playing, and that's how you should have your character respond. And there's a more thespian angle to it where, okay, you understand the premise of how role playing works. Now start creating an identity that's not your own, that's different from the decisions that you would make yourself personally. And that becomes your own personal challenge during the game of, I want to stay in character as much as possible. And to me, that's a very thespian approach. I don't really care about that like at all. I care about, I'm really into exploration and tactics. Personality and backstory in that perspective is very optional. So as a DM, I design adventures and campaigns to be more problem solving, and if you're going to get into conversations with people, it's part of the exploration pillar of exploring what possibilities there might be between your characters and the NPCs that you encounter, and what resources or information do they have that they can share if you can decipher what they're trying to tell you. So to me, that's the exploration pillar. Largely, there's combat, there's exploration, and there's social interaction. Those are the three pillars of adventure that Wizards of the Coast are defining for D&D, and largely the community agrees. That's a large block of black. I need to replace that. I need to find a red. There we go. No, that's a little bit too... That's decent. We'll go with that. Here, let's drop that in there. I've got a point to make, but what's up? Yeah, I can get into a good story, but if the player is adding romance just to add... Yeah, no kidding, right? Exactly. Think like 13th Warrior. You're there to achieve a goal, and if you have a personality that you want to express to help that leans into like why you're making the decisions that you make, you're still want to focus on like what's the actual goal at hand right now. So talking about the three pillars. Here, let me shift my seat. Talking about the three pillars. There's combat, there's exploration, and there's social interaction. Combat, we all know what combat is. It has a high degree of action economy. It's very slow pacing, like every 6 seconds literally are counted. And there's resource spend, and you can potentially lose your character. Exploration is basically a single or a series of ability checks or saving throws that you're making to either create a short-term goal, like open this door or cross this field, or even like in like the study action that they have now of like researching or deciphering a language. Like this is all exploration pillar, where it's like there's a thing that exists, like there's an idea that exists inside the game, and you want your character to find out more about what that thing is. So you make die rolls to find out what your character can decipher about that particular topic of conversation. And you could be, say, interrogating somebody to gather this information, and that social interaction is really the exploration pillar, where you're attempting to gain information about a topic, and the opposition that you have is the person you're interrogating not wanting to tell you. So that becomes your conflict that you need to overcome, which could be expressed either as a single die roll or as an ability, like as a skill challenge, depending on how the DM wants to handle it. But that is technically exploration of discovering things, either through conversation or through movement and observation. So the social pillar then is basically all the other stuff, things that you don't need to roll dice to achieve. A witty repartee between you and your characters, the flavor text that's injected into like the next scene that the DM is describing to you. Technically, shopping is a type of social interaction, because you could just do your inventory sheet and let's move on. But like if you do like a day in the beach episode, those are commonly social interaction, because there's no risk, there's no rewards, and it's just text on the page. It's flavor text. And so flavor is free, but it's not actually. It also includes shenanigans. It's like all the Monty Python riffs and quoting your favorite film and like TikToking or whatever it is. That is. Let me see. I want to grab here. Let's start putting shade into the skull. So the social interaction is also like the meta space of the players interacting with each other and having a good time too. And that's where literally where a lot of the camaraderie in your team comes from. You need the shenanigans. It's important. Plot on your character, like character background, character story, is not nearly as important, in my opinion, as shenanigans. You need dumb time. You need stupid space where your characters can BS with each other, where the players can BS with each other in or out of character, cracking jokes, being stupid, making memes of each other, creating this shared space where everyone is like everyone's inside on the joke. Everyone gets what's going on, and that becomes a common thread through an adventure or a campaign at the table, where like everyone's on board. You know what's going on. You're all having fun together, and it's that stupid level of camaraderie. And then back that up with the decisions that you make in the group as a team, and how are you like for example, there was a period in gaming where me and one of my friends were playing with other people, and we got into a decent level campaign, and we ran into, it looks like we're all going to get killed. I was proposing to my friend that we bail and let everyone else on the team die, and that was a real big lesson, because I was immediately called out by the rest of the teams, like, hey, if you don't want to ride and die with us, maybe you shouldn't be riding with us at all. And I really had to do a turnabout in my thinking on that. And it's like, I'm sorry. And these all ended up being freaking fantastic friends all throughout college. But I didn't. But they gave me a chance to redeem myself, and I earned it, and I actively worked towards earning it. But I had a very selfish mentality, and it completely bit me in the ass. So I started looking at that. Hurt so bad. I was taking the gains of my character to be more important than the gains of the team experience. And then on top of that, I was actively detracting away from finding a solution with the team because I was willing to cut cord on them and bail. It's like that was a really shitty thing to do, but I can't. You can't evolve unless you're. You can't become Jesus unless you're Hitler. So you got to go through that evolution, and I went through the roughest process probably possible in that evolution, and I learned stupid, nasty lessons on group interactions, and because I was that craven sort of player at one point, I can smell it in other people, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna hurt our table because you're acting like I acted when I was 21. So Loot Ninja, yeah, no kidding, right? Give the players an intentionally safe time to play with their spells. Absolutely. Though of course they don't know that. Yeah. Absolutely. As a DM, how often do you let your players run across that loose lip NPC, the one that doesn't need any prompts to release everything they? That's a really great point. The way, and you'll see it all throughout this adventure. There are tiered responses that you can get based on what sort of on what the DM needs, because there is gatekeeping the next plot point. And then there's this bonus information. If it's critical to the plot that was weird. If it's critical to the plot that they get through that door should not be locked. So you could trap the door instead to punish them for not even checking if it's locked or not. Like they jiggle the handle, that pops a needle. Ow! Well, you're gonna get through the door. It's not locked, but you just got stung. So. That's there's different layers. Like if they need to find where the mobster's den is at, then when you catch Nicky the Snitch, of course Nicky the Snitch is going to tell you where the den is at. But the result of your tiered result of your die roll is going to give you more and more information. Like the Snitch will tell you, it's down on 5th, but maybe if you roll like a 15 or better on your interrogation, he's going to be like, watch out for Guido though, because he's got a hammer. He likes to hide behind the door frame to let people in and then give them a good night kiss in the back of the skull. So you can look out for, Jimmy the Hammer trying to whack you when he comes through. So like maybe you want to avoid Jimmy altogether. So you can gain more and more information based on your die roll, but you always want to make sure they get the bare minimum just to push through the new plot point. But players love rolling dice, so anytime they're like, yeah, I want to roll a die for this, I'm all for it. I don't like dogpiling, but I love players prompting, hey, can I roll a die to X? Because it means that they want to achieve something, but they don't know how. So you can say no but or yes and, but you can't say no. Because when they say that, it means I know I'm supposed to be doing something here, but I don't know how to ask, and I don't know what I'm missing. So I'm reaching for the dice, not because I'm lazy, but because I'm frustrated and stuck. So whenever I approach the scenario from that perspective, it just lets me lean into where they at, and helps me reevaluate the situation in the moment of, yeah, these guys need some help. So you want to build in these like default successes. So even with the bare minimum, they're like, yeah, can I do this die roll? They do their die roll, and then you can use that die result, even if it's a good or a bad die roll, and you don't have anything else to say them. Sometimes when they roll the die, and you can just reiterate what you already told them in a different way, because maybe they just didn't realize like how useful of a clue it is that you just gave them, so you can take the next logical step with it. Like, yeah, this is down on 3rd Street. That's what Jimmy said. And like, so they aren't getting it. So it's like, so we knew from last session on 3rd Street, there was a murder in the alley on 3rd Street. And if your players didn't automatically connect those dots, it's not their fault. They go play, pens and paperwork most of the week, and they come here to decompress. So if they don't remember what happened on 3rd Street like a session or two ago, don't hold it against them. Remind them. Be their living journal, so that they can remember what it is exactly that was so important to them, so that they don't have to feel stupid. And if you set up the game that way from the very beginning, it becomes your cadence to remind them of stuff to help reinforce, so they don't have to necessarily be lazy. The people that want to get this but are embarrassed that they don't, they're going to start looking for those cues, and it's going to become their job to outpace you, to connect those dots before you get there, so they can prove to everyone else that they're the smart ones and they actually get what's going on. And those end up being the people that journal for you on their own time as part of their process of playing the game. And that's when you know you've got people that are like really into what the hell it is that you're putting out there. So, and then you gotta, that leads into potential like first person, main character syndrome. That's something that a DM always has to watch out for, because if you have these players that are really enthusiastic about your game and you start leaning on them too much as a crutch, then if you're the type of DM that likes to build plots around personalities and character backstories, that's where main NPC syndrome comes from, and people fucking hate that. Because I'm just as important as that other guy. Why are you giving them all that screen time? As well, because they developed a big character background. It's like, well, I didn't show up for a big character background. I showed up to sling dice and solve problems, and you're offloading that activity onto this other dude because you like telling a story, and now I feel ripped off. Which is, just to end my rant, which is why I hate having, as a DM, involving backstories of NPCs, because that gives them plot armor, because I invested all this time around building a story for one character that's taking the limelight away from everyone else. And this is a very anti what's the word? That's not the common zeitgeist, I think, right now of like D&D 5. I had a flickering light. D&D 5e is very much built around creating an identity and then protecting that identity from being taken away from you unnecessarily through random chaos. Where the old school style of game was strictly built around your character doesn't need an identity until they can prove that they stay around long enough to earn one. And that's like having Fighter Bob becomes Fighter Rob after a single like save versus death ray, like, oh, I failed that die roll. Bob is now Rob. And whatever story I had about Bob is now irrelevant because Bob's dead. Even though this is statistically the same, Rob is not Bob. So any backstory that you made with that character is now null and void, and try to make a new one. Just don't even bother. Like, I don't like backstories. I like that stuff just to organically evolve. But again, I'm very opinionated. Hey, what's up? I went into hey, Adrian. I was initially I went to college to escape my family. I'm legally blind, so I can't drive, and I lived, of all things, on a fucking horse ranch growing up. So I was unable to leave unless someone picked me up or my parents took me somewhere. So I was trapped. So I went to the university to figure the fuck out who I am for myself. And while I was there, I took bowling a couple times. I eventually got serious about cooking, so I dropped out of university and went to culinary school for a little while. But then I realized I hated politics, and high-level chefing is all about politics and titles. It's very snobby. So I hated that. I fucking hated that. So I got out of being a chef after 3 semesters of learning how to cook, which landed me pretty much any gig I wanted in the city to be able to cook, which was awesome because all I wanted to do at the time, I actually just wanted to cook, and I loved it. So I went back. This was in Missouri, and I went to Mizzou first, and then I went to the community college in Forest Park, which at the time in the 90s was actually in the top 10 culinary schools in the nation, amazingly enough. But it was a 2-hour bus ride to and from downtown St. Louis from where I was at, after my parents drove me 30 minutes to get to a bus stop. Oh, it fucking sucked. So I bailed out of that. I mean, I stayed committed for a while. I actually had to walk through the woods to get to a retirement center where I was interning to do mass production kitchen work, like cook 500 eggs at a time to feed to a batch of 300 aging people. Like I had to literally walk through the woods for like 40 minutes to get to this place. And so like that was not a long-term solution. So I ended up going back to, it was Mizzou, University of Missouri. And then I got into HR management because corporate seemed to be a more potential stable path for me to follow. And after 2 semesters of that, I just ended up bailing because I landed a job at the top Italian restaurant. I became the prep cook there because of the culinary work that I had done, or the culinary school. They're like, oh yeah, you know how to. They just needed people to be able to follow recipes accurately and get shit done efficiently. And I acquired those skills in spades from the culinary school. So I landed a kick-ass gig. I was making basically cheesecakes and like shucking shrimp and stuff like that while listening to, because back in the 90s, all the kitchens were full of metalheads and coke fiends. So it was all just long hair white boys like me. That's what the kitchens were in Missouri. And so you just fell into that culture, and it was thick as thieves. And so I did that for a good 3 years while the rest of my friends were graduating. So that's what. And then I eventually got into sales, and I got into mortgages and investments, and then I got into corporate marketing, and that's what I do now. So I did some time running a political fundraising call center. My career is like super checkered, and most of it was based on what could I get to on foot. so crazy. But yeah, I went to college specifically to figure out who I am, because I was always under the thumb of somebody, intentionally or not, but I was always under the control of somebody through my entire life because of my disabilities, and that is intensely disempowering. Like people that are their mobility is limited, or that are dependent on city resources or like government aid. There are some demons that run in those spaces, and they can catch people. It's nasty. So I spent a long time playing in those spaces, and so yeah, I was just happy to get the hell away, to gain some independence, to figure out who I am, and I figured out, like I was saying in D&D, I was figuring out I was a selfish fucking prick, and a lot of that was out of necessity for like my own, to be able to try to create my own sovereign space in an environment where I had no private security, I had no safety for myself. It was it creates distorted personalities, and that's, I think, one of the challenges that people accept when they come into this world with broken bodies. Like they're dealing with not only contending with the limitations of what their body can do, but also these prisons that they get inside of their minds. It's really, I don't think I'm going to take the conversation any further than today. I don't think that's where this space is going. So I'm going to back away from that conversation here, but it's something that could be explored. It's worth exploring, and when I'm in a different emotional state, I'll be willing to explore that further. But yeah, okay, sorry. I fell down a tube. I'm going to take a sip of coffee and try to reorient myself. So let me catch up on the text here. Sorry. I fell down a tube. I'm going to take a sip of coffee and try to reorient. I'm liking how this corpse is shredding along. It's feeling fun. I'm liking how this corpse is shredding. I would always be yeah. And the reminder, yeah, it's just because this is stuff that's living in our heads. And it's awesome when you get a player that this stuff starts living in their heads too. But it's like, as the architect of the universe, like these are the things that we like. That's a good reason why you don't want to do too much forward prep, because if you prep too much, like I've done this recently, where I've over prepped a plot line and accidentally was providing information that the team didn't know, as though it were recap information. They're like, I didn't know that, and then I had to, fuck. So I had to, on the fly, create the logic paths that would say, well, yeah, I mean, your characters would just recognize that because X, Y, and Z, and I was able to recover it. But then that also, that ended up burdening me for the rest of the adventure with providing that cadence of information just to sustain the illusion of disbelief. And then I was able to go back to baseline once that adventure was finished. We moved on to the next thing. But that's a problem. Like, one of the severe problems with over prepping is losing track of what the team actually knows, which is why a player journaling is so freaking awesome, because you can get their perspective about what they think is going on versus what you know is actually going on. But if you over prep, you lose that sense of perspective. So, and I've been painting on my line art for the past 5 minutes. So, cheers to that. Let's get back into the color work. But we're going to end up blending all this together anyway. It's just once I'm happy with the amount of chicken scratching I'm doing here with color, we're going to lock it all together and then start carving it up. And I'm just about at that point already, so it doesn't really matter to me. Let's go back to the first skeleton. Oops. Let's go back to the first skeleton and grab some more color here. Let's grab inside here. And let's grab some of this tooth color. That bright yellow. Where are we at? Oh, cool. 7:30. I still have a half hour. So we play for a little bit longer. This is my home team. My quote unquote home team were coworkers, and we played D&D during lunch. I actually had to build an entire. We played 5e 1 hour at a time during lunch once per week at my day job here in Seattle. And that campaign, we went from level 1 to 20. It was about 280 hours of campaign, which isn't unusual. When I run a campaign from level 1 to 20, it's typically 250 to 275 hours, and I've ran 3 campaigns so far in 5th edition that way. And at only 1 hour per week, it took 6 years for us to finish the campaign from level 1 to 20. But it still paced out the same amount of time. It was just over a very elongated period. So I only had to worry about buffing my world 1 hour at a time, which gave me incredible levels of control of information. And I was able to, I'm going to use my guitar pick here. Just for reference, there's 2 types of smudge brush. Thank you. There's 2 types of smudge brushes I use. I have a guitar pick, and I have a cloud brush. So the cloud brush is excellent at cloud smudging. I created this brush after watching Bob Ross for 100 episodes. I made basically, I think I made 110 Bob Ross paintings learning how to paint like Bob Ross in Photoshop. So I created this brush because it's really good at making clouds like Bob does. See, it only takes just a little bit of brush work, and I can create some really kick-ass cloud effects. So it's an excellent smudge brush, like just a blender. It's an excellent blender. This guitar pick is a more of a scalpel. See, I can carve through. The sharp edge carves through straight, and the back edge smudges things apart. So I can blend by how I spin my brush. I can carve or I can blend. And but it doesn't have as much of it has a more liquidy instead of smoky effect. So I could go on a diatribe about building brushes, but I don't feel that's my energy today. But I wanted to show off the difference between these 2 brushes because these are very custom. I made these very specific to the style of art that I like to do. Like just the scratch monkey sort of style that I have of painting or illustration. These type of brushes lean into that style. If I had a more crisp, like vector style of artwork, then I wouldn't want to use these blur motion sort of brush effects. But it's that sketchbook pencil work is kind of like is the space that I like my artwork to live inside of. So naturally, the tools that I develop complement that style. But you don't really know what your style is until you have enough time on the easel to recognize that there is an actual style. Like not emulating somebody else's style or not trying to reproduce reality, photorealism, like acknowledging and accepting that the way that I compensate for the lack of reality in my work is by expressing things in this aesthetically pleasing style. That is what your style of art really is. So anyway, just oversharing because as I flip between different brushes, it's useful to like understand like why am I doing what I do, right? So, but most of the time when I'm working, unless I'm doing foliage and stuff, most of the time I'm just working in a hard round brush. It's just a super easy very controllable style of brush that I can have a lot of precision with, and then it's my smudging tools that help integrate and create that like the layered shadow effect. So anyway, that's mechanical tangent. What were we talking about? Remind them nuance stuff as we go. Right. Let's pick up that and then bring that in. There. Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. My coworkers. I play D&D once per week with my coworkers, and it's either on a Wednesday or a Monday, depending on what we know our schedules are looking like. Because I work with IT. I play with IT, HR, sales, and marketing, and so my D&D table is technically the most diverse club in the company. And so we have a lot of like high performers, like all the people that are hyper fixated on like code monkeys that'll crack at code for 18 hours straight, or like our actual webmaster that controls the site. I don't talk about my day job specifically, but I like talking about my team, and I am blessed that the table that we run, we have these super hyper-focused, fixated people that use our game as a means of decompressing. Like they show up and stay because they want to keep playing. And like this is why I love this. I could probably get a better job, but I love playing. So let's make it work. That is hugely complimenting. So I love playing. I love that game. I love my coworkers. It's wonderful. Before I started playing with them, I was actually playing with my college team. We all, for the most part, we've all stayed in touch, and I was running with that team for a couple years on Roll20 before everyone started evolving their own local groups, just like I did, right? So it's like, okay, well, we're gonna break away and do these other things, but my college team, we stayed consistent with each other for as soon as like Roll20 became a thing back in 2013. I reached out to all my friends and we fired up a campaign, which is why I'm such a Roll20 loyalist, because Roll20 allowed me, even though I moved out of state from Missouri, I was able to retain all my friendships through Roll20 and D&D. So I'm hyper loyal. And considering my dependency issues growing up, that's not unusual. But when I make a friend, I do not let them go. And so leaning back into the conversation about alliances and building friends in D&D, it's like you prove yourself through your actions in game. I can trust you. Like, and like that's a really good case in point that I had demonstrated. You can't trust me. I'm willing to bail on you. And it's like, well, who the hell are you? What are you actually trying to do here? What are you trying to be? And it's like, oh, wait a second. That's when I had the opportunity to realize like how broken my thinking really was about friendship and loyalty and stuff like that. And it was a massive course correction for me, a pretty defining moment in how I looked at relationships. So I take that stuff like really seriously. So like, yeah, like rogues, for instance, stealing loot from each other. It's like, I know who you are. I've been that person myself, and you're a horrible person. What are you doing? So, anyway, it's fun. The lessons that we learn, it's awesome. It's just the best. Role-playing games are amazing. D&D or anything else. Anywhere that you can be authentic with each other. And like that authenticism, it's some people have a difficult time being true to other people, like because like they've been hurt repeatedly, but they can set that trauma aside because they get a clean slate when they build a character. A lot of people don't want a background. It's like, I don't like my background. I don't want to think about what this person's background is. I just want to be able to walk away from this knowing I beat up Nazis. That makes me feel good. And I feel like a hero when I do that. And I don't have to think about it. And I don't have to worry about like what's going on in the world. Leave me alone. I just want to beat up Nazis. And I think that's awesome. So, and we're still, I don't like that. I don't want to move too, yeah, we're not in the right space. Let's grab, okay, yeah, that does feel good. Cool. So you gotta recognize who your teams are. And so it's, yeah, like showing up and fighting for your team and risking your character, like I demonstrated myself. Like you can be craven and try to have your character survive, or like that thief that's stealing from your teammates. They feel insecure most of the time. I think that's why that happens, is because they feel like they're going to get bailed on, and they want to get what's theirs before they get cut out on. It's like, that's a broken soul that needs to learn trust. So as long as they're willing to like adapt themselves to the situation, they're worth redeeming. A lot of people on advice threads on Reddit are really just sharp-toothed and trying to do a sting burn sort of gotcha phrase or whatever, not really caring about who the people are that are interacting with these things. And sometimes there's a straight up like, this is an abusive situation. People are taking advantage of you. You need to know to get out. That's important. But then there's also, no, this is just somebody who doesn't understand, like rescue dogs. Sometimes they lash out at people because they're afraid and hurt, and they don't know that they're safe, and they need patience. And so you got to be able to recognize the difference between the two, which is often why the DM becomes the de facto manager of the table. Like, this is my table, I can kick you out if I want to. That's actually an important status to hold and to protect as the DM, because a lot of times you're looking at all these people and you're seeing how they're interacting with each other. You can see their body language with each other. You can see when there's a conflict arising, and often as a DM you can see where that conflict is coming from, unless it's coming from you, in which case you might be blind to it, and you could end up having a conversation you didn't expect to have from your team, setting you down for an intervention, quote unquote. But a lot of times it's the DM that's observing the team all throughout every session, and so it's the DM is probably going to be the one that's picking up on a problem before anyone else might be. And so that's when you have to wield your executive power. Like, I can't have you at this table, or if I want to keep you at this, if you want to stay at this table, I need you to change your behavior X, Y, Z. Which is also why you want to think about like what your session 0 is. That session 0 is creating boundaries that the DM can enforce. You're breaking the tenet of being here, and how do you want to course correct to stay at the table? Because we all know if you break the covenant of what our session 0 is, part of that session 0 is, if you're having problems with this and if you're not willing to actively address them directly, then you're basically allowing yourself to get voted off the island, and we'll replace you. And when you're a DM that is willing to hold that level of power on your table, your players become more trusting of you leading them, and which is what you need them to do. They trust that you're going to lead them into a story that they're going to be entertained by, that they want to interact with and engage. And you demonstrate that from how you protect them outside of the game to be safe to explore that space with you inside of the game. So it's actually a lot of like layered psychology that happens here. But if you play games long enough, and not to brag, but I've been at it for nearly 40 years now, these are the kind of things that a good, quote unquote, a good DM picks up on. And by good, I mean somebody that wants good for their team. So I'm really in the deep end of philosophy with you guys today. So don't mind me doing this adult swim with you guys. Hopefully it's entertaining. But these are the things that I think about, and I think I'm thinking about it. You know what? Honestly, I don't know why I'm thinking about that. I've got a game today, and then I'm running Martial Powers as a playtest tonight. And the team on my Martial Powers team is freaking awesome. It's great people that are playing. I legitimately love getting, like, when we playtested the Spelljammer mechanics by playing Descent into Avernus. That was awesome, and all the players that participated with it, like, I would be happy to have them back at my table. The people that we had, like maybe 20 people playtesting this adventure when we were creating it, and those were all super freaking awesome people that I would absolutely cherish having at my table. It was, it's just, I think the higher degree of integrity that you hold your table to naturally starts pulling higher integrity people into your space, because I think they just gravitate. I think we just sniff it out and smell each other, and you just, like, why do you choose one thing over the other? It's because of whatever that hidden juice that we can't see, that intuitive space that exists around us in the nethers, and we can sense it, and we get pulled in different directions for whatever it is that we need in our life. And some people just need good games. So yeah, I'm really off the deep end today. Don't mind me at all, y'all. I'm gonna put some crystals on this guy. So the Planum of Bar has hold on, there's text, so we catch up. Hey, what's up, Nightmare? Oh my god, I didn't even realize you were here, you brat. Shut up. Well, I mean, I know my playtesters. Most of them came from this stream originally, so it shouldn't surprise me when some of my playtesters show up and toss some smack around with us. But yeah, I am just, since you caught me out, and I'm burying my heart here, I am legit, just as a DM, just playing. I love mega dungeons, and I love that our team is glomming onto that space, and that you guys are having fun with it. It's just, dungeons have stories to tell that emerge in time, depending on how the team interacts with it and the stuff that you guys see and mess around with, and it starts to build its own narrative, kind of leaning into that idea of, like, you don't need a background on your character. Who your character is kind of just manifests through the adventure by just staying alive long enough to, like, quote unquote, start telling their story, you know? So, and it looks like if Uchi Master is going to be joining us tonight, it looks like we'll have a solid 4 players. So God's willing, that's going to be a good team, and you guys, like, they found the stairway down to another level. It's going to cost them hit dice and blood, but you guys took a dead orc and are using him to bleed him out to pour into the device that opens the door that takes blood from people. I think that's awesome that you guys decided to do that. That was really clever. But I didn't have an agenda, so, like, I put the mechanic in place, and, like, here's the rules, and it just, you put things in place. As a DM, a good idea is you put things in place, and then you have, like, a vague idea of how something could be dealt with. So you know there's, like, a backstop of, if I need to, I know I can help the team figure out how to do this thing by X, Y, and Z. But you just leave it open, and anything just makes sense. It's like, yeah, it just makes sense that this would work, X, Y, or Z. And you let them do it. And then they feel empowered in the game because they're creating their own solution. They're not looking like in a puzzle. They're not looking for the solution that you created for them It's frustrating as fuck until you find what the actual answer was supposed to be. And instead of you feeling smart for solving the puzzle, in my experience, every time, everyone feels stupid for not being able to read the DM's mind, because puzzles are complicated ideas. I actually like creating puzzles that are visually stimulating, but don't specifically have a solution. Like, how do you want to manipulate this thing that you found to do what you need it to do? And whatever solution they come up with, that helps build the story, the nuances, the way that the dungeon interacts with the team from there on forward, because they're setting this precedence of, this is how we want to deal with this thing. That then, and I'm being very ambiguous because I kind of have to be, because it's different with everyone. But the team creates these dynamics between the game, the DM, and the players, and how they like to interact, and that becomes their narrative. That becomes the story that they're brewing, and the characters that they're playing fit into this style that is being crafted between the players and the DMs, because there's no heavy agendas. It's just, we're creating this interesting space that, if I do my job right, is interesting and compelling to explore, that has enough of a story going on. Like, we have, like, they're raiding this temple that was unearthed during an earthquake, and there's still rumbles that are happening while they're in the dungeon. So there's this like subtle threat that there could be a cave-in at some point. Like the last time the team went adventuring, there was all this dust in the air in this area that they opened up, because there was rumbling the night before. And then when they opened up this dungeon space, it's full of like grit in the air, because there was something that happened in that area. So, and I got another 20 minutes left, and then I got to finish. But there's like how they decide to respond to that and what they decide to do with it, that becomes built into the dungeon moving forward. Like, how they respond to the dungeon is how the DM continues to develop the dungeon as they go. So I'm really randoming at you guys right now. I want to add some bulk down here. It seems like there's some chatter going on. What's up? Puzzles should also be used to catch up new players to the obvious rules and default D&D settings. Vampires care about sunlight, not garlic. Don't put a bag of holy in a... Don't light a fae. Yeah, that's a great point. Hey, Adrian. Chill. This is really what you study. Right on, man. Sorry, Adrian. I go deep sometimes. Like, I am, depending on what's going on and how much time I have, I am not afraid to dive into depths of things I believe or things that I've experienced. It's just a matter of, it's all up to the muse that's running the show inside of me. She knows what she wants to do, and she'll share what she wants to share. So, but yeah, sometimes I can go pretty deep. There we go. I'm on Raw. I listen to Epidemic. I have a subscription to Epidemic Music. It's as long as I pay them money, I can use all the music on their website and stream. They won't copyright strike me. So if I ever decide to bail from their service, I need to stop using their music. I also have to be cautious about clips from videos that I make, because it would also have that music in the background that I could get flagged for. But I like Epidemic music. This song in particular is called I'm on Raw. But this song kind of reminds me of the Tomb Raider, like the original Tomb Raider movie with Angelina Jolie. That had a fantastic original soundtrack. I love the first Tomb Raider movie OST. So much good music in it. Very, very worth your time checking out. I like this guy. He's coming along nicely. Blend this in a little bit here. And then, so yeah, my week's a little wonky. I think I'm going to be, I'll definitely be on tomorrow morning for artwork, of course. But tomorrow I would normally do a lunch stream with some sort of mechanical development, like for example, we're finishing up martial powers, revisiting the mechanics of martial powers. For right now, we're working on the ranger, and then after that, we're going to work on the paladin. And I don't honestly know if I'm going to have time tomorrow to do that. So we'll do artwork in the morning, and then if I'm able, I'll do a development stream, but it'd probably be like around like a couple hours earlier than usual. So if I'm able to carve out the time, I'll jump on and kick around for a couple hours, but or an hour because of lunch. But I might not be on as usual tomorrow. But Wednesday we'll be back to normal, and then I stream Thursday night design as well. So Monday through Friday in the mornings I do artwork like this. And then Mondays, Wednesdays, either Monday or Wednesday plus Tuesday and Friday is my normal routine. So I typically get like Friday, Tuesday, and then either Monday or Wednesday, 3 days in there, and then Thursday night, and then Saturday morning is design stuff like I said, I have to run multiple projects at a time so I don't burn out on my primary, and this is my primary project. So luckily I'm doing a lot of artwork right now, which is very easy for me to do. But I'm still working on the formatting, because when we built the adventure, it was just in a Google Doc, like I do, a Google Doc. And it just flowed from beginning to end. And then I made all the maps that made sense for this, but I was not thinking about the 16:9 format that we're using for this adventure. And it's very difficult to parse information, to have both maps, text, monster information, trap information, like all the stuff that goes along with an area, to make all that stuff jive together. That is proving to be just an incredibly difficult task. That I honestly, it's challenging me. It is by far my biggest challenge that I've faced in a couple of years. And I don't think if I hadn't accumulated as much experience creating other types of books on DMsGuild, I don't think I would have been up for this. I would have had to bail on it, but I'm just good enough to be able to figure it out. But it is torturous, slow process for me figuring out how to make the text fit in with the page space and the maps. So far, I've been really happy with the results, and I think the whole thing is going to smash. But it's because I'm willing to take a colossal amount of time to do it. so the intimidation factor is huge, and the way that I can back away from it and not just hide from the project is I can just work on something else and allow myself decompression time working on other things, and it eventually all comes together. And thankfully, Stuart Bras, my editor, and Andy Healy, the old goat, those guys are being gracious with me, allowing me as much time as I need to get. They invested a shitload of time with us as well, and they just, I guess, just believe in me doing the work. So I got to move this arm. It feels a little stunted. So there, that feels better. So I'm gonna add that down, and then this arm. There, that feels better. Good job, Kearney. Keep it up. Looks like this guy's missing a finger. Good job, Kearney. Keep it up. Looks like this guy's missing. Feel bad for you there, buddy. But all this is pretty well hidden behind the other corpse, so I don't have to worry about that so much. But I do want to take some of this lighting here and kind of bring this down. There, like that. And almost, I am almost out of time. So I'm gonna have to cut strings here in probably like just a couple minutes. So we're gonna come back tomorrow morning. We're gonna continue. This guy will get finished tomorrow. Maybe tonight if I spend a little bit of time working on it before bed. But I'm almost done with the next section of dungeon to be able to move forward. So I think we're gonna just let this guy pause, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow morning, and then we'll be able to just continue down the line of zombies. We move away from the most detail up front, and then as we move further and further away, here I'll show you where we're at right now. So as I move further away from the camera, we get less and less detail as we go. We've got a fog effect that's going to come in, so I don't have to draw so many feet. And then we have that front line, and then we have the back line of a bunch of extra undead. And then we have this haze effect that's coming in, so we'll be able to fill in these like little white gaps with like a putrid greenish sort of smoke effect, a Golgari sort of feeling. And then we have the Yugoloth, that is the commander of the Horde. So a Yugoloth is like the high CR threat that exists inside of the game. And then there's this hordes of undead coming out of the manifest zone, that if the players don't properly contain the threat of the adventure, if you were to continue the adventure beyond just what is here, like if you made this part of a campaign, then hordes of undead in the Carnwood that need to be cleaned up can become part of your campaign. So it is 7:58 here in Seattle, so it's time for me to cut. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, squishy meat. Demo. Thanks a lot, man. But yeah, we do this every day. I don't always post on all, like I have different channels that I post on Mondays. I typically do like a really broad net because, like I said, I do playtesting Monday night on my Discord for Martial Powers, and I don't have any lunch stream going on today. So when this is my only day, I kind of cast a broad net. So yeah, putting stuff out there. And if my ideas, my art, and my games resonate with people, then I'm happy to have you. Anyone that's out there, like, subscribe, check. I've got a slew of books that are listed down below that are on DMsGuild. Whenever I publish a book on DMsGuild, it's 100% free preview. People buy them. You don't buy my books to read them. You read my books, and then you decide if you want to invest in me doing more of them, because like the more my Color Mana books sell, the more I make Color Mana books. The more my Spelljammer books sell, the more Spelljammer books I make. Yada, 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 yada. So, and this is all of the idea of I'll eventually be doing Kickstarter stuff, and I'll be able to use this entire library of 5e content that I've created as a demonstration of, here, watch me grind this out for 400 episodes. And you'll see that if I put out a Kickstarter project, I'm going to fucking fulfill it. And you can watch me do it daily. So like that's my master plan, is eventually finish all the 5e stuff and evolve out into my own campaign type, my own IPs. But I want to make sure that I've satisfied my 16-year-old child that was playing all these different IPs in D&D, that absolutely loves them, that I can actually build content for on the DMsGuild. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. The campaign settings inspired me to create these things, so I'm going to create art. I'm going to create my content for those campaign settings, and when I'm finished saying all those things, I can then evolve out of that space into my own with the chops to be able to build the things I want to be able to build the way that I want to build them. So, God's willing, I'll be able to stay on this planet long enough to do all these things. Nightmare, what's a finishing statement? You can give the party access to separate note pages. That's an alternate to slapping text on a map. Yeah. Not an option with your PDF map. Yeah, very true. Very, very true. All right, cool. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out. God, thanks a lot for the conversations, guys. Thanks for letting me let my heart roll. I love that. And I'll be back as usual tomorrow morning. I'll catch my playtest team tonight for Martial Powers. I'm looking forward to delving deeper and screwing around and having fun. And that's it for now. I'll see you guys later. Cheers.